In accordance with the law, the Constitution and the law, I, Wafula Chebukati, Chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, hereby declares that Ruto William Samoei of ID number 6847208 has been duly elected as the President of the Republic of Kenya under the provisions of Article 138 of the Constitution in the presidential election held on 9th of day of August 2022.
It is a wonderful evening, and I want to thank God that we are here this evening to witness this momentous occasion as the people of Kenya restate
of William Ruto, who has just been announced by the IEBC chair, Wafula Chebukati, as the winner of Kenya's presidential election amid some dramatic scenes. And his victory was narrow, stunning, and highly controversial, with just 50.5%, even as 4 of the 7 members of the Electoral Commission rejected the result amid claims of rigging. Scuffles broke out around the podium at the Talent Center as the head of the commission, Wafula Chebukati, was seemingly about to announce the results.
The official results show that Mr. Ruto gained ground in the strongholds of Raila Odinga, his main opponent. He also won by a landslide in Mount Kenya, the political heartland of Mr. Odinga's running mate, Martha Karua, and the outgoing president, Uhuru Kenyatta. Awino Gilbert is a communications expert and political commentator, and he joins us live from Kenya this morning. Thank you for joining us, Gilbert. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
First of all, congratulations to the people of Kenya on being able to finally get to meet their president-elect, the 5th president-elect for Kenya. What's the mood like since the announcement came yesterday?
Well, as expected, in the Kenyan political landscape, the winner and the loser are always 50-50. So whichever way it went, obviously, a natural consequence of the other half. There is those who voted for him are happy, and obviously those who didn't are going on with their business. As I was driving to work in the morning today, what to note is that there is still unusual less traffic as it is usually, like on Langata Road, that is on the southern part of Nairobi. Usually by 8 o'clock, it's usually a beehive of activities, especially with the high number of cars. But there were not as many as expected. It's also close to Wilson Airport, that also does a lot of domestic airlines. I spoke to cab drivers in the morning, and they told me the requests are still not as usually the case when things are fine. But things are there are no spots of violence as perhaps been anticipated in by certain quarters.
Well, maybe not so much, not violence, but a scuffle did break out yesterday after the results were declared. And also some people have also rejected the results, claiming that there was some level of rigging in the elections. Can you tell us a little bit about that, the scuffle and the claims of rigging?
Yes, you remember for the first time in the Kenyan election, IEBC was able to upload all the forms from the 46,229 polling stations across the Republic. Now, what they did is that people were able to download the forms and do their own tallying. However, some of the forms were claimed to be fraudulently uploaded into the forms, and therefore they required validation from Form 34B from the constituencies that were supposed to be brought to Bomas of Kenya, the center for the IEBC, where election tallying and obviously announcement of the presidential results were going on. So they were expected that there would be verification and comparison between Form 34A that had the raw data from the polling stations and Form 34B that had the collected data from across the 290 constituencies. Now, each of the presidential candidates had their agents at the tallying center, and they were all doing their tallying. Now, a day before the announcement of the results, the chief agent for Azimio, Kantabayo Lekanchori, came on the podium and said there are a lot of activities that are criminal in nature happening in here. And therefore, I think at that point, there were differences in the tallies that each and every candidate, perhaps not each and every candidate, but the two leading candidates, the Azimio side and the Ruto side. Now, yesterday before elections results could be announced, we saw a majority of the commissioners leave the commission and hold a press conference away from the tallying center, claiming that there were certain things that had not been resolved. In fact, we get information that they even refused to sign that Form 34C that the president, the returning officer, that is IEBC chair, and the commission needed to have signed, as well as the agents in agreement that these are the results that we have. Now, having seen that, obviously, there was bound to be commotion because IEBC chair Wafula Chebukati was determined, or so it appeared, to announce the results with or without the concession. So it is at that point that you saw the commotion, one party feeling, how come you want to announce the results and some parties are saying there is a problem, and other people are saying we have clearly won, so give us the results. That is what led to the commission, and at some point he was whisked away. And what to note is that contrary to the 2017 election that he conducted, this time around, he announced the results as a person having not been flanked by any of the officials or the commissioners with whom they work at the commission. He claimed that some had been intimidated. He also claimed that some had been beaten, but he didn't give the specifics as to what really happened. So those could actually just be left at that until specific proof can be perhaps adduced by him.
It's interesting that you've mentioned this. Let's still talk about the IEBC. In his maiden address post-announcement, William Ruto spoke very highly of the IEBC, particularly the chair Wafula Chebukati. Would you say that his, the good things he said about the IEBC reflects the sentiments of the larger population in Kenya?
Well, it can't be the larger population because the difference between William Ruto and Raila is what could be called, it could go either way. Like it is 50-50. So it appeals to his constituents, not to the larger population, because this is the total number of voters were slightly short of 15 million. He had 7 point something, actually 13 million plus, because Ruto had 7.17 million, Raila had 6 point something. If they do the total, is 13 million plus. Kenya has about 50 million people. However, Chebukati has been, remember, a little bit about the history of the Kenyan elections is that it is actually Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta who recruited Wafula Chebukati. That is when they were still bosom buddies. It has also been claimed that many of the officials at the IEBC then were able to get the favor of the president and the deputy president, and mostly the favor went to the deputy president. Now, when they disagreed, Chebukati was in office. So it was very hard for them to now kill the friendship that they had built over time. Now, this is what was rattling the Azimio side. that you seem to have an unhealthy friendship that may not act in the interest of this election. At some point, just before we geared to the last phase of the elections, the ballot papers had arrived in Nairobi, but the IEBC chairperson was not even aware that the ballot papers had come. There are also allegations, of course, that he was meeting Moses Wetangula, with whom they come from the western side of Kenya, Bungoma County. They are also of the same tribe. These were allegations that had been made by the people of Azimio, but of course, they are also human beings. They could just have met as people meet. But I mean, these are some of the indicators that perhaps may have act the other side to accuse him of partisan favoritism. Also, what to note is that the difference that we see in the Kenyan elections today is that there was a petition in the 2017 general election, and that petition ended up nullifying the presidential election. And there were certain pronouncements that the Supreme Court of Kenya made around Article 38, of course, of the Kenyan election that allows for the conduct and how we do the presidential elections. And I'm sure you may have heard, everybody keeps mentioning about Maina Kiai case. And the Supreme Court made a determination that point when they were nullifying the election that the chairman of the Electoral Boundaries Commission, Wafula Chebukati, had conducted himself in a manner that puts him as everything, the returning officer, at the exclusion of the other commissioners, and thus they did nullify that election.
All right.
Now, yes.
Oh, well, I mean, it's a whole lot of angles that need to be brought in, and I'm sure that Raila Odinga and his team would also be shared in more light on some of these things. But we, of course, will have to move on to other discussions. Thank you so much for your time of speaking with us, and we'll follow up, with how it plays out in Kenya. Looking forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.